Have you ever felt like your mind is turning against you? Like there's a storm inside, not outside, that steals your peace? You try to stay calm, but fear, anger, or anxiety always find a way back in. You're not broken. You're not alone. We've all been there, trapped in loops of thought we didn't choose and feelings we can't explain. The good news is there's a way out. Stoicism, with its quiet strength, doesn't tell you to run from emotions. It teaches you how to face them, not by force, but by clarity, not by suppression, but by understanding. You see, the Stoics believe tranquility isn't about avoiding feelings, it's about learning how to manage the mind so it doesn't manage you. The path isn't easy, but it's one you can walk, and it starts now. What you're about to hear isn't just theory, it's a lived journey drawn from Stoic wisdom and the quiet victories of everyday life. So just pause, breathe, and stay with me. Because each moment from here brings you closer to something you've been searching for: freedom from emotional chaos and a return to inner control. The first step: realizing this simple truth. Your mind has the power to create joy. The human mind is astonishingly capable of generating deep sorrow, but also radiant peace. The problem is, we've never been taught how to use it. We let it run wild, untrained, and instead of being our companion, it becomes our captor. Not because it's broken, but because we're pressing the wrong keys. Imagine your mind as a piano, and you're playing dissonant notes without realizing. Thoughts of failure, worry, regret, each key adding to the noise. But just like a musician learns the notes of harmony, you can train your mind to compose a different emotional melody, one of gratitude, presence, joy. So when you feel overwhelmed, maybe it's not life that lacks beauty. Maybe you're just playing the wrong tune. Let's say you wake up, and the first thing your mind tells you is about your unfinished work, unresolved arguments, or everything that could go wrong. Naturally, you feel anxious or heavy. But pause just for a second. What if you thought instead, I'm alive. I have today. I can choose how this day unfolds. Can you feel the shift? That joy doesn't come from what's outside, it's always been within. We chase success, approval, recognition. But the Stoics remind us, real happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from mastering less, mastering the mind. And once you stop generating negativity, you'll notice joy arises on its own. Picture this. It's a draining afternoon, and you're buried under tasks. If you fixate on the stress, your mind will echo with more tension. But what if you looked up, saw the sunlight through the window, or the gentle rustle of leaves? Just like that, you remember, joy isn't a reward, it's a way of seeing. Seneca once said, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. But most of us don't live there. We live in mental time machines, visiting what hasn't happened or regretting what already did. Think back a moment with family or someone you love. Were you fully present, or were you somewhere else in your mind, worrying about what's next? That moment passed, but so did the chance for joy. So here's a practice. Whenever negativity creeps in, stop and ask, am I pressing the wrong key? Then gently replace the thought with a memory, a small blessing, or even just the breath you're taking now. This is where real stoicism begins. Understanding that joy isn't a destination, it's a choice of perception. You see, When you master the mind, you don't just stop suffering, you start creating peace. This isn't an abstract idea. It's something you can begin today. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And that leads us into the second step, learning to master your mind. It's one thing to realize your mind can create joy. It's another to take full responsibility for that power. Because the mind left untrained can just as easily create suffering. The Stoics taught that pain doesn't come from events, but from how we interpret them. Think about a time you let anger take over. Maybe you yelled or said something you regretted. Did it bring peace? Or did it only make things worse? Seneca warned us, anger, if not restrained, is often more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. So ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is a few seconds of outrage worth sacrificing your peace? Emotions like anger and anxiety aren't monsters attacking you. They're just signals, spontaneous reactions from a mind running on autopilot. Picture it like this. Your mind is a wild horse. If you don't train it, it bolts. It drags you through emotional chaos. But if you guide it with patience, it becomes your greatest strength. So the next time anger rises, don't fight it. Observe it. Ask gently, why am I angry? What part of me feels threatened? Would choosing calm change anything? This pause, this simple moment of awareness, is where Stoicism lives. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's your power. Not in controlling what happens, but in mastering how you respond. Life will challenge you. People will provoke you. But your reaction, that's yours. Always. Think of driving in traffic. You can't stop the chaos on the road, but you can choose how to move through it. The same is true in life. Calm isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And here's the truth. Mastering your mind doesn't mean you never feel fear or anger or stress again. It means you know how to sit with them without becoming them. You'll still face storms, but you'll no longer be swept away. Your mind, once mastered, becomes more than just a shield from suffering. It becomes the source of joy, clarity, and unshakable strength. So, are you ready to begin that journey? Because it starts here with the quiet decision to reclaim the only thing that's truly yours, your mind. Now that you've begun to see the mind not as your enemy but as your greatest ally, let's take that insight a little further. Because recognizing that your thoughts shape your emotions is only the beginning. The real breakthrough comes when you start to take the reins and gently steer your inner world. So how do you do that? Start by shifting your relationship with your emotions. Instead of fighting them, observe them. Instead of reacting, understand them. When anger starts to rise, pause. Just pause. Breathe in slowly and ask yourself, why am I angry? What part of me feels threatened? Is this truly worth my peace? What would happen if I simply let it pass? You don't have to suppress the feeling, just hold it in your hands for a moment and look at it. You'll be surprised how much clarity arises when you do. Marcus Aurelius once said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's a powerful reminder, because in every situation, you always have the ability to choose your response, and that is your deepest strength. Life, as you know, is full of unpredictability. Some days unfold smoothly. Everything feels light. The air seems gentle. Your mind feels clear. And then without warning, something small throws you off. A rude comment, a careless action, a delay that wasn't planned. Suddenly, your mood shifts. That's the moment to remember. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. Think about it like driving. You can't prevent someone from running a red light or cutting into your lane, but you can decide whether to slam the horn, shout in frustration, or simply pause and keep yourself safe. Life works in the same way. External events will happen. People will behave unpredictably. But your inner stillness, that's yours to keep or lose by choice. And just like physical strength, mental strength isn't something you gain overnight. You don't build muscle from lifting a weight once, and you don't master your mind in a single meditation. It's a process, a daily practice, step by step, thought by thought. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, you train your mind to serve you. So the next time anxiety begins to rise, just pause. Focus on your breath in, out, and quietly remind yourself, this will pass. Everything is temporary. This isn't the end, just a moment. You see, mastering your mind isn't about eliminating negative emotions. It's about learning to live with them in harmony, not in fear. Emotions, whether joy or sorrow, anger or love, are simply part of being human. But when you train your mind, you no longer get carried away by them. You're no longer the passenger, you become the captain of your ship, steady even in stormy seas. In fact, once you begin to master your thoughts, your mind becomes more than just a defense against suffering. It becomes a source, a wellspring of creativity, clarity, and resilience. So, are you ready to continue that journey? Then let me ask you, what's the biggest challenge you face in mastering your own mind? Have you ever had a moment where you surprised yourself, where instead of reacting, you paused and responded with calm? If you have, you already know the strength I'm talking about. Share your story in the comments. You might inspire someone who's struggling right now. Now, let's explore something deeper and sneakier, your imagination. Because when it comes to fear, anger, or anxiety, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where are these emotions really coming from? Often, they don't arise from the present moment, but from 1,000 imagined futures. Scenarios that haven't happened, but feel real anyway. Think back to the last time you were anxious. Did your mind start writing a story? Maybe you imagined being criticized at work. Maybe a text from someone made you assume something bad was coming. Maybe you thought, what if I fail? What if they judge me? What if everything falls apart? The problem is, these things aren't real, but your body responds to them as if they are. Your chest tightens. Your breath shortens. You feel tense even though nothing has actually happened yet. Epictetus put it clearly, men are not worried by real problems so much as by their imagined anxieties about real problems. In other words, the fear isn't the event, it's your mental movie about the event. And most of the time, that movie is fiction. You know, the mind is a master filmmaker, but left unchecked, it tends to produce horror films, dramatic ones, with worst-case plots and cliffhangers. Picture it. A dark room, storm clouds, judgmental faces, and you the victim. The irony? None of it's real. Yet you suffer anyway. Why? Because the mind can't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. But here's the good news. You can change the script. Imagine you're the director now and you choose to write a different scene. Instead of a disaster, imagine something going well. Instead of imagining judgment, picture someone understanding you. Try it right now. Think of a moment that made you laugh. Close your eyes. Can you see it? Feel it. Just as easily as you can build a horror story, you can build a comedy, a love story. A quiet day in the Sunday, you hold that power every time. Let's look at a real example. Imagine you get a message from your partner, "We need to talk." Your mind instantly goes into overdrive. What happened? Are they upset? Did I do something wrong? You play out the entire argument in your head. But when you finally talk, they just wanted to share good news, something they were excited about. All that fear, all that stress, unnecessary. But the mind doesn't know that. It just reacts to the script it's given. That's why Stoicism reminds us. Most suffering isn't from what is, it's from what we imagine. The lesson isn't to never feel fear, but to know when your fear is a phantom. And in that moment, instead of fighting the emotion, just let it go. Like watching smoke drift away. Say quietly to yourself, "This fear isn't real. I don't have to carry it." In a world full of external noise and constant uncertainty, your mind should be the safest place you know, a space of compassion, not chaos. So instead of tormenting yourself with imagined disasters, let your mind become a garden of soft thoughts, gentle scenes, peaceful dreams. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." If reality is already challenging, why not make your inner world a place of refuge? You deserve that. And that brings us to the deeper Stoic truth. Imagination isn't the enemy. It's a powerful tool, but only when you're the one holding the pen. Don't let it run wild and write your nightmares. Train it, guide it, and let it serve you. When you stop constructing worst-case scenarios, you'll realize that life, while difficult at times, is almost always lighter than the story your mind tried to tell you. And in that realization, you'll find something rare. Peace. We've seen how imagination can spin illusions, turning small uncertainties into looming fears. But that's only part of the puzzle. To truly rise above negative emotions, there's something else you need to understand, and it may surprise you. You need to change the way you label what you feel. You see, the words you choose, the way you define your emotions, shape the power they have over your life. Let's look at something simple. Imagine waking up to a gray, rainy morning. Your to-do list is overwhelming. You feel heavy, frustrated before the day even begins. But wait, is the rain really the problem? Rain itself is neutral. It's just weather. It doesn't carry meaning until your mind assigns one. Maybe today you see it as a nuisance. But another day, that same rain might feel calming, an excuse to slow down with a warm drink. So, what changed? Not the rain, only your perspective. This is one of the most practical yet overlooked lessons from Stoicism. Your emotions don't come from events, but from the story you tell yourself about those events. Every feeling you experience begins with a thought. And thoughts, at their core, are just ripples rising and falling like waves in your mind. But if you're not aware of them, they run wild. Like a machine set on autopilot, churning out reactions you didn't choose. That's how fear and anxiety gain their strength, not because they're inherently powerful, but because they're fueled by unchecked, unconscious thinking. Imagine this. You're about to give a presentation. Your heart races. Your hands tremble. You start to panic. It feels like anxiety is attacking you. But what if you paused and looked again? What if instead of a threat, this was simply your mind signaling that you care, that this matters to you, that you want to do well? You see, when you reframe the emotion, its weight changes. Anxiety stops being a burden and becomes motivation. Nervous energy becomes focus. That's the power of shifting how you label what you feel. Here's a deeper truth. Emotions like joy, anger, sadness, or fear aren't good or bad. They're just signals. It's the meaning you assign to them that creates suffering or peace. Thoughts, too, aren't positive or negative in themselves. They're either conscious or unconscious. Conscious thoughts are directed like tools, used with intention. But unconscious thoughts, they're like a river. Fast, wild, untamed, carrying everything in its path. When your mind is in that state, reacting rather than reflecting, that's when suffering creeps in. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom doesn't come from never feeling pain. It comes from learning how to relate to our pain differently, not with resistance, but with clarity. Many people fall into the trap of fighting their feelings, trying to silence or bury them. We think, if I can just stop thinking negatively, I'll be free. But the mind doesn't work that way. In fact, the more you resist a thought, the louder it becomes. Try this right now. For the next 10 seconds, don't think about a monkey. Go ahead. Try. You'll see what I mean. That's the mind. Push against it, and it pushes back harder. It's the same with emotions. The more you fight fear or try to silence anxiety, the more deeply they root themselves. Instead, the Stoic way is to turn toward them, to understand them, to ask, what are you trying to show me? Because sometimes anxiety means you're stepping into something new. Anger may be pointing towards something unjust. Fear might just mean you're stretching beyond what's familiar. No emotion is the enemy unless you choose to see it that way. Life will continue to challenge you, that's its nature. But every emotion you feel is a reminder. You're alive. You're feeling. You're learning. By changing the way you relate to these signals, you not only ease your pain, you unlock something greater. The ability to live with presence, with serenity, and with gratitude. Stoicism never asks you to become cold or detached. On the contrary, it invites you to become clear, to see every emotion not as an obstacle, but as an opening, a lesson, a chance to grow. And if you've come this far, truly listened and reflected, then you're not just casually curious, you're committed, you're showing up for yourself. And that matters. It means you're ready not just to understand these ideas, but to live them. Because everything we've covered so far is only the beginning. So let's take another step deeper, understanding how the mind itself works. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The human mind is the one thing we have the most control over, and yet it is often the thing we understand the least." That's not just poetic, it's painfully true. Without understanding your mind, you become a passenger swept along by cycles of fear, anger, and confusion. But once you begin to see how your mind works, you regain the wheel. Try this metaphor. Your mind is like a garden. If you leave it alone, weeds, that is, negative thoughts, grow quickly. But if you nurture it, if you plant good seeds, thoughts of compassion, clarity, and discipline, it becomes a beautiful place to live in. A space full of calm and growth. Here's what surprises many people. The mind doesn't work like scissors. You can't just snip away the bad thoughts and expect peace. In fact, trying to cut out fear or stress often makes them louder. Like an echo, the more you shout back, the more it bounces. Let me show you. If I say, don't think of a pink elephant, what happens? That image appears instantly more vivid than before. That's the nature of the mind. What you resist persists. As Epictetus put it, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. So rather than trying to erase discomfort, ask instead, what is this thought teaching me? What is it revealing? Fear, when understood clearly, can push you to prepare better. Anxiety might be telling you to pay attention. Anger could be asking you to set a boundary. These emotions, as intense as they feel, are not enemies. They are messengers. And when you learn to listen instead of push them away, they begin to guide you. That's when the real transformation begins. Now picture this. Your mind is a powerful, high-speed car, sleek, strong, capable of incredible things. But without a driver, it veers, crashes, wanders aimlessly. That's what happens when the mind is left unattended. It spirals into fear, into doubt, into imaginary disasters. But if you take the wheel, if you guide your thoughts with intention and awareness, you can go anywhere you choose. Have you ever felt that moment right before something important when anxiety kicks in? Maybe before a job interview, a speech, or a difficult conversation. Your mind floods you with images of failure. What if I mess up? What if they laugh? What if I ruin everything? But what if, in that moment, you paused and reminded yourself, this is just my mind preparing me. This is not danger, it's growth. And even if I fail, that too will teach me something. Just like that, the panic softens. You regain control. There's one more insight about the mind, and it's subtle but powerful. It multiplies whatever you focus on. That means if you dwell on a single mistake, the mind loops it, echoes it, and starts building a belief. I'm not good enough. But if you gently shift focus to effort, to learning, to growth, that belief changes too. The thought becomes, this doesn't define me, I'm still growing. I can improve. And your mind follows that lead. In the last part, we explored how the mind multiplies whatever we focus on. And that insight brings us to something deeply practical. If you keep returning to self-criticism, the mind will amplify it. A small mistake, repeated in thought, becomes a belief. I'm not good enough. But what if you shifted your attention? What if instead you told yourself, this mistake doesn't define me. I can fix it. I can grow. Just that small shift, that reframe, begins to rewire your emotional response. You start feeling lighter, more capable, and slowly, confidence returns. Understanding your mind isn't just about watching it, it's about practicing with it consistently. The next time you feel flooded by anxiety or frustration, try this. Pause. Take a slow breath. And gently ask, where is this coming from? Is this as bad as I think it is? Is it really worth giving up my peace for this? These aren't magical questions, but they create space. A little breathing room between you and your thoughts. And that space is powerful. Because from that distance, you begin to see your thoughts are not who you are. Your emotions don't define your worth. They come and they go. This leads us to something essential, something the Stoics understood well. The most powerful thing you can do for your mind is to understand it and accept it. Your mind, as wild or chaotic as it may feel sometimes, is not your enemy. It's a tool, a companion, a mirror. And like any tool, It can either harm or heal depending on how you use it. So ask yourself, honestly, what kind of thoughts are you allowing to lead your life? Are they building peace, strength, clarity, or are they pulling you into spirals of fear and judgment? The choice always is yours. Now we come to a major turning point in your Stoic journey, learning to detach from your thoughts. When you truly understand how the mind works, you begin to see that negative thoughts and difficult emotions are not proof of your failure, they're simply byproducts of how the mind operates. And while awareness is the first step, it's not enough. You must also learn to create distance. Like stepping back from a painting to see it more clearly, you gain perspective when you stop clinging to every thought that passes through. That distance allows calm to enter, and with it control. Picture this. You're in an important meeting, and suddenly a thought pops up. What if I say the wrong thing? What if everyone thinks I'm incompetent? That thought triggers fear, and the fear spirals into anxiety. But pause for a moment. Is the thought actually true, or is it just a story your mind is spinning? Most of our stress doesn't come from what's happening, but from what we imagine is happening. Creating space between you and your thoughts helps you see them for what they are: mental whispers, not absolute truth. That's the first step toward mastering emotions like fear, anger, or anxiety, not letting them master you. So how do you create this distance? It starts by learning to observe your thoughts like a neutral witness. Imagine your mind as the sky, wide, open, and still, and your thoughts? Just clouds drifting by. Some are dark, some are light, but none of them define the sky, and none of them stay forever. You are not the clouds, you are the sky, serene, boundless, unchanging beneath it all. And when you begin to live from that awareness, something within you shifts. You stop chasing every emotion. You stop fearing every thought. And in its place, you find quiet strength. One very effective way to create that mental distance is to label the emotion you're feeling in the moment. Let's say anxiety arises. Instead of saying, I'm anxious, you say, this is anxiety. It's here, but it's not me. Just that simple phrase can break the emotional spell. It's like switching on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see more clearly. Modern psychologists call this affect labeling. The Stoics simply called it awareness. Either way, naming the emotion helps you manage it not by suppressing it, but by understanding it. Because often, when negative emotions take over, our perspective narrows. We zoom in on a single issue, forgetting the bigger picture. That's when Stoicism offers a crucial question. Will this still matter a week from now? A month? A year? This simple shift in perspective can bring instant calm. And Epictetus gives us another. Is this within my control? If it's not, let it go. If it is, focus on practical, wise action. Either way, peace is possible. There's another key practice that supports this distance, and that's mindfulness. You don't have to sit cross-legged or meditate for hours. Just pause, take a breath, and pay attention. Feel the breath move in and out. Notice where you are. Notice how your body feels. Notice the thought and let it pass. In this quiet presence, you'll begin to see your thoughts for what they are. Passing currents, not anchors. Emotions and thoughts will always come and go, but they are not you. You are not your worry. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are the observer. You can choose not to jump into the river, but to simply stand on the shore and watch it flow by. The mind can feel like an enemy when it's wild and untrained. But when you begin to master it, when you bring awareness and distance to its chaos, something beautiful happens. It becomes your ally. You stop fearing emotional storms not because the storms stop, but because you know how to stand through them. Calm, clear, rooted like a Stoic. So if you're ready to live from that place, take a moment and write in the comments, "I am not my emotions." Let this be your quiet declaration that you've understood and you're ready to live differently. And now, we move into the final lesson, one that turns insight into transformation, training your mind consistently. Because once you've created some distance from your thoughts, once you've begun observing instead of reacting, the next step is to make this way of being your new default. And that takes practice. This is lesson 7. Never stop training your mind. Stoicism never claimed the mind could be fixed overnight. It's not a quick fix philosophy. It's a lifetime path. Fear, anger, and anxiety, they don't disappear forever. They return like shadows do when the sun moves. They are part of life, as natural as the changing weather. But what lies in your control is how you respond when they arise. That and only that is your inner strength. But many people still hope for a shortcut, a magic book, a single video, a sudden breakthrough that will make emotions vanish for good. But you and I both know that's not how real growth works. Imagine trying to hold a ball underwater. The longer you suppress it, the more forcefully it shoots back up. The mind works in the same way. Suppressing emotions doesn't dissolve them. It only builds pressure. And when they come back stronger. The truth is, the more we suppress our emotions, the more power we give them. When they return, and they always do, they carry not just the original weight, but the weight of every time we tried to deny their presence. That's why Stoicism doesn't teach us to run away. It teaches us to face what we feel fully, honestly, and to train our minds to stand strong, even in discomfort. Training the mind is not a sprint. It's not a weekend challenge or a quick fix. It's a long, winding journey, one that asks for consistency, not perfection. And yes, some days it will be hard, but that's what makes it real. That's what makes it transformative. Epictetus once wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." Your mind is no different. It needs care, patience, daily cultivation. So start small. When anxiety shows up, instead of letting it pull you into a storm, pause and ask, will this still matter 5 years from now? That's not just a stress relief trick, it's mental training. It shifts your mind into a wider, wiser perspective. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine you're about to present to your boss or a group of colleagues. Anxiety builds. The what-ifs begin. What if I mess up? What if they think I'm not good enough? In that moment, you have two choices. Let fear steer the wheel, or turn it into a training session for your mind. One Stoic technique that helps is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It means imagining the worst-case scenario calmly, clearly. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And if it did, could I handle it? When you answer honestly, you'll often find that fear begins to lose its grip. Because most of what we fear is survivable. And once you accept that, fear can no longer dominate your choices. Here's another habit worth building. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes. Sit with a notebook. Write down what emotions you felt. What made you angry? What made you anxious? How did you respond? And what could you have done differently? This simple act, daily emotional reflection, isn't just therapeutic, it's Stoic training in its purest form. Because each time you write, you gain distance. You become the observer, not just the participant. And from that distance, wisdom grows. Understand this. Training your mind is not about reaching a final destination. You will never arrive. There is no perfect day when all emotions disappear forever. But what you will notice over time is that your mind becomes steadier, your reactions become slower, more thoughtful. You start responding with clarity, not impulse. That's the real transformation. Not becoming someone else, but becoming more yourself, calm, grounded, resilient. So, what have we explored together? 7 timeless practices drawn from the deep well of Stoic wisdom. From recognizing that your mind creates both joy and suffering, to learning how to step back, reframe, observe, and finally train it like a loyal companion. These aren't abstract ideas, they're tools. Tools you can start using today, right now, in the smallest corners of your life. And if you do with patience, with gentleness, you'll become stronger, calmer, and ready to meet whatever life brings with a steady heart. If you found this video helpful, I hope you'll take a moment to click like. It helps others discover this message when they need it most. Subscribe to the Stoic Room if you haven't already, and turn on notifications because we have so much more content coming your way. And if you're ready to go deeper, explore our playlist. Stoic Wisdom, Mastering Emotions and Inner Strength. It's filled with practical guidance, timeless reminders, and tools to help you keep growing day by day. And finally, always remember, you don't have to fight every emotion or fix every thought. You only have to pause, breathe, and choose your response. Strength isn't found in control, it's found in calm. So stay steady, stay grounded, and whatever happens next, meet it like a Stoic.